You're listening to Community Radio, CKMS, Radio Waterloo, 102.7, 946 on the Rogers Digital Network. You can find us at...
Happy Monday, Waterloo Region. It is Monday, October the 26th, the last Monday in October already. Got a couple of interviews lined up. Aaron from Dichroma, and then a little bit later, we've got John MacDonald from the Festival of Neighbourhoods. But the big news this week is that we've started our fundraising campaign. So, I would like to ask you all, if you're a listener of CKMS Community Connections, to please go to radiowaterloo.ca/give and make a donation to the station. It's what keeps us on the air. It's what helps us repair the transmitter. It's what helps us pay the artist through the SOCAN license fees. It's what helps us repair equipment and acquire new equipment, fund the newsroom, all those things that keeps community radio going. And if you make a donation of $20 or more, you get to join as a member of the radio station and influence how the radio station operates. You get to join the music committee and decide what music goes on the air. You get to join the programming committee, work on the schedule and determine what programs you hear, get to join the tech committee and actually work with some radio equipment in the background. Lots and lots and lots of fun. So, radiowaterloo.ca/give. We're trying to raise $102.7. A significant number for us because we're CKMS Community Connections on 102.7 FM. And $102.7 will go a long, long way towards helping keep the radio station operating. So, we'll be talking with Aaron of Dichroma as soon as I get him on the phone. So let's just have a quick listen to Cause and Consequence from his EP called One.
Bound to the machine, we made our causes for effects and formed to follow function for the certainty of next. Day by number day, we raised up walls of glass and steel. Within nothing unknown was real. Rise day by day, wheels what we've decided, cause from consequence divided, and all tomorrow seems so near. No need left for questions when all answers seem so clear. Glass and shattered steel for burning, tumbling down in fire and ruin. The choking mass of dust and ash pours through the streets below. And high above it all she watches, trembling like the steel she clutches. End of all connected things, here at the fall of everything she knows. Fear and fire surround us. Now the consequence has found us. And now the sky
The distinctive sound of Dichroma. I have Aaron from Dichroma on the line. Good morning, Aaron. Welcome to CKMS Community Connections.
Good morning, Bob.
Happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
You have an EP out called One, and
Yep.
it's been airing on CKMS FM for 4 or 5 months now, since about May. And I've been trying to get you on the show for about 4 or 5 months since May.
Yep.
But the COVIDs have prevented us from actually connecting up till now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting for sure.
Yeah. How have you been coping with pandemic issues?
It's been okay. I mean, in terms of the music thing, there's been some positives and some negatives with the situation. Negatives, obviously, it's very hard for us to get together and write and create music. But on the positive side, my home studio setup became a priority. Got that set up. We've actually finished recording EP number 2, which is currently being mixed. And with the additional time of not having to commute for daytime work, as most musicians are, we do have other lives outside of music. I was able to spend the time to actually do that. We're very good at, like self-promotion, and our so I could time radio sites and those types of things with the additional time. So that was a blessing, I think.
Yeah.
It's hard to sort of gauge anything because I don't know if people are. Especially initially when you first played us, it was very. It was a new situation. Things were a little off for everybody, and I don't know if people were listening to new music, listening to radio, or paying attention to things like that. So it felt very much like being in a bubble. But we've made progress. We're actually, like I said, we've got the second EP done. We're actually talking about what material to work on for the third EP. Obviously, from our perspective, we've pretty much finished writing because it's hard to do the writing that we tend to do. The other
Right.
like changes in plans, but not majorly so.
So I'm hoping to get some advanced copies of your EP. Even if the mix isn't perfect, just to get a taste out there of what all the music is about. You've got a pretty distinctive sound. It's
Okay, thank you.
It's not heavy metal, although I think I've put down the genre for our digital library as metal, but alternative metal, not mainstream Norwegian black death metal or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, that was one of the challenges we had when we finished up the first EP end of last year. Besides, we had to come up with a band name because we had a list of like 300 names, and most of them were uniformly terrible. And then you'd find something, this is not bad, and then you'd go do like a Google search. Oh, it's already taken. Oh, it's tied in with this thing and that thing. So that took a little while, and yeah, it was just sort of strange from that perspective. What was the question? Sorry, lost my train.
It was about the sound.
The style.
The style.
So we had to write like like a bio and all that stuff to send it out. And we were like, well, how do we describe ourselves? I mean, historically, with me and Paul's the other member of the band, we're sort of a duo at this point. Looking to maybe expand things at some point if and when live music becomes a possibility again, because we'd like to maybe play live if possible. Doing a bio, it's like how are we going to describe ourselves, and trying to figure that out. We started out, obviously metal is one of the things that we do like, but we do go off in other directions. There's some gothic elements.
There's a strong electronica element in what you're playing. Well, what's your band lineup? Introduce your band members and just give me an idea of what sort of instrumentation you've got.
Okay, so myself, Aaron, play guitar. I like to call myself the bombast reducer. Once we write, we tend to sort of go off these like we'll explore tangents, and because we're not thinking of playing live, we'll add instrumentation on, and things can sometimes get a little too bloated at times. So I'm usually the one that sort of dials that stuff back before it gets too overdone. And the other member is Paul. He's vocals, guitar, and I call him Sonic Architect because he has most of the equipment to do the other aspects of the recordings, which are the electronic elements that you're talking about, and that sort of thing. And yeah, basically we get together. Sometimes it just starts with one part. We hash it out for a little bit. We home recording in the current day is fantastic because you can multi-track. You can arrange stuff while you're recording and that type of thing. So we've been doing the arranging for a fair bit of time, and that was just learning how to this type of environment where a band facing each other with amps cranked up.
Yeah.
And and then just sort of adapting to like certain sounds and things that maybe not all of us are like keen on initially. Like Paul likes to push like the electronic side, which for most of my work, and I like really like droney guitar stuff because I like the offset of the tension that a drum can get against other sections and stuff, and he's not as fond of that stuff. But I think together when we're writing, the material always comes out better than if we had written it down on our own. Like we can write our own material, we can do it by ourselves, but it's missing something. Like I think the two of us together, there's a spark that happens, something connects, some things go off in a direction that we don't foresee that's
well, that's good. That's how creativity works, things going off in directions where you don't see them. Looking at your website, Dichroma.org, and it's pretty stark, not exactly minimalist, but certainly not cheery and bunnies and unicorns or anything like that.
Yeah, we got to get that website up a little more detail. I'll have to look into that for the second release. But yeah, we're trying to figure out what to put on there. So we thought we'd put little snippets of the thought processes behind the songs on there.
If I hadn't had you on the phone, this would have been great to read out loud.
Oh.
So the blurb here for Oxygen, for example. So this is how it feels to die young. It's It needs a good gravelly voice to read this, I think, but I think that sort of reflects what the music is like.
Yeah. Currently, Paul, like the first EP, the lyrics were all sort of written by Paul. We do talk about the themes and that sort of thing, and he likes to go for like the sort of grand, larger than life themes for the songs, and then. Yeah. He runs into the problem that it's very hard to encapsulate it into like a 4 or 5 minute song.
Yes, your songs do run post 5 minutes for the most part. Of the 4 on the EP, there's only one that's below 5 minutes. She's in Parties.
Yeah, that's covered. So next EP we do have a 2-minute song. So that's I wanted to make sure that not everything we put out initially is in the longer vein of things. As we release EP, I want people to sort of get a different sort of facet of our different styles. I don't know if we have a sound yet, but we're definitely.
Oh, you've got a sound.
Trying not to have everything sound sort of like a template at this point. So hopefully the first 3 or 4 EPs, everything's got something a little different, so that maybe people who don't like something on some of our material might appreciate something different that we do on something else.
But that's usually a huge bone of contention with fans. Fans like the sound of the band's not the earliest material, but after they've gotten into the groove, and then once the band has established that and built their fan base, the artists in the band want to expand their horizons and explore new sounds and new avenues of creativity. And the fans don't like it. The fans want the old stuff. They want what they've heard before. They want the same thing over and over again. So,
it's sort of interesting as a music fan myself. There are certain bands where, for me, if you deviate sort of from their core sound, it's sort of like, and I don't necessarily don't like it, but maybe I'm just not as open to it, or I don't think it works for them. And then there's some artists where experimentation is kind of their thing, and I'm sort of all for that, because sometimes the hits on the experimentation are fantastic, more than like you can have some misses in there as long as you're still sort of occasionally hitting it out of the park kind of thing.
Yeah, and you have to experiment for that, right?
But so it's sort of, it's going to be interesting for me with the release of the second EP, because now the first one nobody had heard us obviously before. It was new. It went out and people sort of had to take it as it was. Now there's people that have heard it, people that have liked it. We're putting out the second one. What's the reaction going to be like? Like, obviously it didn't impact our writing and recording of it. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes, and if it sort of affects our mindset going forward at all. Like, I don't think it will. I mean, we've got a bunch of material sort of parked away that we're working on, and we've got stuff that's in slightly different styles and things like that. So we'll keep sort of pushing the envelope a little bit.
Push the envelope a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I'm one of those fans who likes your current sound. So, don't depart too much. Or if you do depart a significant amount, set up.
I think it's going to sound like us. I mean, usually it's established bands that can sort of say that with, material. Like, if we do a song, it's always going to sound like us, whatever style it's in. But I think Paul's definitely got a very sort of distinctive vocal delivery style with the harmonies and stuff like that. And that's always going to be a compliment. We do things like,
and you've done
that kind of thing, so that's always going to be a part of it.
So Paul's the primary lyric architect for the first album, the first EP called One, and you're doing some of the writing for the second one?
Yeah, this writing for the second one. I'm not going to lie, I think Paul's far better lyric than I've ever been.
Guess takes practice.
But I have heard some stuff. Paul says that he's comfortable singing it, which means it's not, he's not embarrassed to sing it. He's just doing it to make me feel better. But part of it is just so that we can get more material finished, because it's very difficult to get things done if a lot of it ends up sitting on one person's shoulders from one aspect. And lyrics are a very important part of music, I think, for a lot of people. I tend to focus on the music first, but for most people,
it's a common question. Are you a musician who puts lyrics to music, or are you a poet who puts music to words?
Yeah,
I guess.
We're very much into music, so it comes first.
Okay, music first for you. Lyrics first for Paul?
Sorry?
And lyrics first for Paul?
Yeah.
That's a good combination. Good combination to have.
Yeah, so sometimes music dictates the kind of mood, and then we'll talk about what we think ideas for the song. And even if Paul's writing the lyrics, there's discussion about stuff. He might be taking something that I said to him in the talk to sort of tweak things or come up with a verse and things like that. Yeah. So it's very much a collaborative process. But I definitely for the first EP, the emphasis is mostly for him for the lyrics. So.
Yeah. And for neither of you, it's not a full-time gig, is it?
No, definitely not at this time. So
but you find
it's not what it used to be. So.
Yeah. So
we like doing what we're doing, so we're probably keep doing it, but it really depends on pop action and that type of thing. What we do beyond that.
Right. I've been looking forward to the EP for a while now, and I kind of hoped to have a track or two to play today, but that's not the case.
Yeah, we did have a rough mix, but it was a little unbalanced.
Yeah.
I don't want to send that out yet. But we might have some stuff by the end of the week.
Okay.
That might be playable. So
fire it off to us. Send us an attachment, and this goes for anybody listening who's got a band who wants to get their music on the airwaves. Send a message to office@radiowaterloo.ca with either your music attached or with a link to a Dropbox or a WeTransfer or your own website where we can grab the music. And our music committee will look at that and stick it in the digital library and put it on the air. And if I get a hold of it, I'll probably drag you on the airways to have a chat with you online or on the air as well.
It feels strange just sending out an EP and then come back and sort of go, hey, you want to do an interview? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I was expecting this to happen a lot sooner, but obviously no one could foresee what things were look.
Yeah.
Well, 4 months later from March, so or April, I think that's what that was.
The first EP is called 1. Is the second one going to be called 2?
We've been talking about that. Currently, we're calling it 2. I don't know if that will stay. We sort of want the front of the band to look unassuming and not, I guess, very sort of plain, I guess, in a way. So we think the album titles sort of follow a theme and don't really say anything like that.
Yeah.
And
Off the first EP, the first track, Oxygen, is definitely my favorite. Can you give an introduction for that, and we'll play that and.
Sure. Is an older song that we put together, and it's basically about the anxiety and of things and how sometimes the feeling can sort of overwhelm to the point where you can't sort of function, and that's what the song's about. So here's Oxygen.
Oxygen. From Dichroma, and we'll have information for connecting with Dichroma, their website, their social media IDs, all on the show notes for Radio Waterloo, CKMS Community Connections, radiowaterloo.ca/CCC. Aaron, it's been great chatting with you. Sadly, the connection was a little bad. I hope to be able to tune that up a little bit in post-production. You know what that's like, doing post-production work. Oxygen from the first track on album number 1 from Dichroma. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you for having us.
Chat again soon.
All right, bye.
The title from the first track on album number 1 from Dichroma. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you for having us.
Chat again soon.
All right, bye.
Racking tide of fear and pain. Don't know if I can breathe again.
That's Dichroma, Oxygen, from their first album called, or their first EP called One. New EP coming out, possibly called Two, maybe by Friday, and we'll have that music right here on CKMS Community Connections as soon as they send it to us, which might be Friday. Just a reminder that it is the fundraising week for CKMS Community Connection. 2 weeks, actually. We're going until November the 7th. It's your donations, your community contribution that keeps community radio on the air. And it's what allows us to pay the phone bill so we can call people like Aaron. It's what allows us to pay the internet bills so that we can have web conferences with other guests. It's so that we have our studio to transmitter link. It pays for so many things. It pays for the studio rental. You know, I wouldn't be able to be here if it wasn't for contributions from the community and contributions from programmers to be able to pay the rent for our community radio station. Most of the funds for the radio station are through programming fees. People who join the radio station, membership is $25, $20 during our fundraising period. And programmers will pay $30 a month to get a 1-hour primetime show a week. So if you've got something that you really are interested in, that you want to let lots of people know about, your hobby or social justice group that you're with, maybe even something relating to a commercial venture that you might want to talk about in great depth and great detail and frequently on a weekly basis, or if you've just got some favorite music that you're not hearing on the airwaves today, join the radio station. Start a show. There's a start a show link on the webpage, radiowaterloo.ca, and become part of community radio. Yes, your monetary contributions help a lot, but we also need the content. So join the radio station, become a programmer, put your show on the air. And that's it for the moment. Let's have a listen to Jalax. This is Crazy Arms. We'll have Jalax on CKMS Community Connections in a couple of weeks, but let's listen to their music for the moment.
Making What do I call you? You define undefine, you're just a mirage. Something I couldn't find, you were my healer. And my killer as well, you were the player. The only one who can tell for all these moments. You were spared to my life, watching me pay back the moment I died. What do I call you? You're just a mirage. You are my healer. Oh, I'm my killer. For all these moments, you were spared to my life, watching me pay back the moment I died. But there was one thing you couldn't employ, and that's my memory. Living forever alone.
That's Chillax, called Crazy Arms on CKMS Community Connections. My name is Bob Jonkman. I have on the internet John MacDonald from Festival of Neighbourhoods. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Bob. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me today.
Good to have you here too. Looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit of manipulating of the controls while we speak. But tell me about what's going on with Festival of Neighbourhoods.
Well, as you may know, Festival of Neighbourhoods is an initiative across Kitchener that really tries to encourage neighbors to come together, to gather and meet one another across their diversity of background and points of view. We think it's quite important. And oddly enough, even more important in these tremendously challenging times that we have. So, at the basis of the festival is that people think of themselves as the center of their neighborhood, gather their neighborhood together, and then COVID comes along, and all of a sudden we've got lots of edicts and various things that say, oh, let's not do that. So over the course of this year, we've been working to try to encourage neighbors and neighborhoods to gather potentially sequentially or in other creative ways that allow them to really overcome isolation, to continue to meet and understand each other across those backgrounds, and really to experience all the great abilities and things that neighbors do and that neighbors do for one another. So it's a Kitchener initiative, but it's an idea that really is important to every community.
Is this something that goes on all year round?
Yeah. Our organization is a joint venture between Social Development Council, my architectural office, John MacDonald Architect, with support from the City of Kitchener, but its resources are quite limited. What it does is try to shine a spotlight on all the great things that neighbors do for themselves and for one another. So over the course of the entire year, we encourage and we try to support as best we can with limited resources the sorts of things that neighbors do to gather. And that might be over the course of festivals like Victoria Park's Pumpkin Palooza, for instance, which is a sort of long time thing that's been done in that neighborhood around the clock tower in Kitchener. And that occurs in the fall. Other groups have events that they hold to gather themselves together through music, through arts and culture, through games and meetings and initiatives. I think there's one neighborhood that actually had a whole series of lecture sessions that spanned over the course of a number of months. So we want to encourage that. We want to thank people for what they're doing, and we want to register and hear about that as much as possible, pass those things along to the City of Kitchener and to our community, and help celebrate that over the course of the year. And of course, it leads up to a kind of annual end of season celebration, which is coming up on November 15th.
Right. You said that you're passing this information back to the City of Kitchener. What sort of initiative does the City of Kitchener have that makes this happen?
Sorry, my apologies. I'm not hearing you all that well, Bob.
The City of Kitchener, you said that you're working with them to give them information about what you've gathered through Festival of Neighbourhoods, what happens at the City of Kitchener that they solicit this sort of information from you?
The city has its own neighborhood initiatives. They have a bit of an office of neighborhood and have been very active over the course of the years in that. And they too want to hear from citizens about what they're doing. But we work together, and our organization is a bit separate from that. We're asking people to meet in a particular way, reaching out across their diversity, and we want to let the city know about that. Traditionally, we've had a grant that's been available for people to make an improvement in their neighborhood, and it's been part of what the Festival of Neighbourhoods does at the end of season celebration. Given COVID and the times that we're in, this year that grant is not going to be available, but what is available are a series of prizes for participating in the November 15th online mosaic of neighborhoods, as we're calling it. And the City of Kitchener has a program, which is a matching grant program for neighborhood improvements that is very much along the lines of the grants that have been with our festival for a quarter of a century now. And so we're wanting to pass along that information both to neighbors and city, make those connections, help people build the capacity to think about their neighborhoods, to think about these times and COVID and what sort of infrastructure would be helpful for them in their neighborhoods in order to make connection. And so that's the kind of exchange back and forth between neighbor, city, community, and across neighborhoods, quite frankly, sharing ideas among neighborhoods that we like to do.
What have you done in the past, before COVID hit, as your annual celebration? This has been going on for a while, hasn't it?
So typically neighborhoods have gotten together, potentially using the arts, potentially using the environment. There have been neighborhood cleanups, creek cleanups, other kinds of ideas that neighbors have for making improvements and gathering their neighborhood together. Our festival doesn't dictate how a neighborhood comes together, because each neighborhood is diverse. People who are taking that initiative and stepping off the front porch, as we say, have different ideas about what they would like to do. And so all of that is grist for the mill. It's all wonderful what they do. We're just trying to encourage people that when they do it, they gather people together inclusively so that they meet people who potentially aren't like one another, and they kind of see. It's always quite revealing in neighborhoods when someone says, you know, my name's George and welcome to the neighborhood, and somebody else, you know, I've been here 12 years. How long have you been since you moved in? And then someone else like Isfa or Sally says, oh, well, I've been here 15 years. And we've never actually met one another. So that's the kind of thing that we're hoping to build on and to share on November 15th.
Is Festival of Neighbourhoods different from what we get in the Schneider Creek Porch Party or the Cherry Festival?
No, these are exactly the kinds of initiatives that we want to help support and shine a spotlight. So I think the way to think about Festival of Neighbourhoods is it's a kind of community spotlight, a community highlighter. We certainly don't want to take any credit for what people are doing in their own neighborhoods. So the Schneider Creek Porch Party, other neighborhood ventures from across the city, and what people do, they just deserve the kind of tremendous thanks of the community for what they do. And our initiative is to try to raise the importance of that, help everyone understand how important it is, help everyone understand that when they live in a connected neighborhood where people meet one another, there's a capacity there that gets built. And that capacity is really, really important to our community. I think the City of Kitchener recognizes that, as do other communities across our region. And so the difference with Festival of Neighbourhoods is that really we're a spotlight in order to try to get those thanks across, to get that recognition, and to get that sharing among neighborhoods of ideas of how to do this.
And so this year, now that we're in the middle of the COVID pandemic and doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon, what is Festival of Neighbourhoods doing this year to bring the neighbors together? How will it work this year with COVID being in the neighborhood?
Well, of course, our season started in October, so there was sort of an initial period where things seemed very much the same as we built and encouraged. But with COVID, obviously the first concern is for everyone's personal health, concern in the community about transmission, but also concern around issues of isolation and issues of how people are going to continue to be supported, their mental health and their sense of belonging within their community becomes, in fact, even more important in COVID times. So we've been reaching out and encouraging people, for instance, to do neighborhood scavenger hunts, where they might be able to explore their neighborhood, but not all together as one group. They might be able to do it using a mechanism where people do it one at a time, or in very small groups that are socially distanced, or in household bubbles, and yet share the results of that, and so kind of come together. We've also got something that's leading up to the November 15th, which we call Neighborhood Exchange, which is a kind of fun idea that we're trying out, where we're thinking that can someone get in touch with Alison Brown, who is our event coordinator, through our festivalofneighborhoods.ca website, and basically volunteer to visit another neighborhood and go for a walk with someone in a different neighborhood, and then potentially to do the reverse, where someone will come and go for a walk in your neighborhood. And it's a way of kind of sharing and developing the kind of understanding of all the diversity of neighborhoods that we have in the city. That's what we do at the annual celebration at City Hall normally. But this year, of course, we can't get together in that way. So I think, Bob, we're trying to do this in a kind of sequential manner, and all of that sharing and potential for neighbors to go on these neighborhood exchanges and to make connections sequentially. We want to bring that together in a kind of online giant Zoom celebration festival on November 15th at 1 o'clock.
So Zoom is how it gets done this year. Neighbors meeting each other in the same neighborhood, but electronically through Zoom.
Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah, people meeting each other through Zoom rather than actually meeting each other in person this year.
On November 15th, that is going to be the idea, yes. And there is also going to be a physical location at one of the community centers where people who don't have access to the internet could go. Because, again, we want to be inclusive and we want to be accessible. So that is being set up so that it's kind of an idea about pods that would come to the celebration and provide their input and ideas. And so that's one pod, one bubble. But yes, then people can participate in the neighborhood event on November 15th from individual locations through Zoom. And it's something that neighbors have done for their own gatherings all throughout the year and through the COVID period. They've been using Zoom creatively. Potentially we're all full of Zoom and similar platforms at this time, but there's no doubt it fills a role in attempting to replace the kind of face-to-face that is so important for people.
I'm very glad to hear that you're setting up community centers to help with the technology, because not everybody is able to use Zoom. It's complex technology, as you can see with our own web conference software here at the radio station. I'm having my own problems with managing it. So it's a good thing that you're being inclusive and helping out the neighbors with the technology. How do people sign up?
That's very much thanks to the City of Kitchener that is working with us to make that available. Because they too recognize the importance that not everyone has the capacity. Yes, I'm sort of talking to you, and I'm worried all about the lighting on my face as we talk, and then I'm trying to remember, but we're on radio. I shouldn't really be worried about that.
No, radio is just fine with no pictures, but we've got the live video feed here as well, so just for those people who are tuning in or catching the bonus footage later. I'll have all the links to Festival of Neighbourhoods on the radiowaterloo.ca/CCC site in the show notes for this episode of Community Connections. But can you give us a quick rundown of how people can get connected with Zoom on the day of the event?
Yeah, so through the website, which is festivalofneighborhoods.ca, or through getting in touch with Festival of Neighbourhoods through the online links at the City of Kitchener. And if you like, you can call John MacDonald Architect, or you can call Social Development Center of Waterloo Region, and we'll get you connected with Alison Brown, who is our event coordinator. I believe, Bob, you know Alison through the musical scene as well. And Alison will be able to reach out. Eventually, I think the way this platform works is that there will be an Eventbrite invite that people will get in order to ensure that we can get the proper information to them through this Eventbrite link about the technology, about the link that will bring them to the event, and also how that will work. But we also want to ensure that people who are listening and potentially don't have access to the internet, give me a call, 579-1700. We'll gladly take your call at our office and help you to get in touch by telephone directly with Alison and go from there. So lots of ways to connect. Hopefully you'll be connecting on November 15th as well, Bob. We'd love to see you there.
Hope to actually have this happen on the radio. So negotiating now with our program coordinator to see if we can actually put the Zoom on the radio for at least the first hour.
Fantastic. Yeah, that would be lots of fun.
What is happening? Sorry, carry on. What is actually happening on the day of the event? When we plug into Zoom, what can we expect to hear and see?
So one of the things is that there will be 5 $100 cash prizes available for various people to win on the basis of a kind of random draw, and that will be available for people to use to do things in their neighborhood or bring neighborhoods together. So that's a bit of a carrot for participating, first of all. We're going to have people dropping in from our traditional sponsors. We're approaching our sponsors like the Waterloo Region Police Service, City of Kitchener, the Mayor Barry, who is in many respects Mr. Neighborhood, is going to be participating. And really, many of these VIPs will be participating from a point of view of listening. Not so much to all the speechifying, but kind of listening to the conversations that we will have on the go as neighbors share their stories. And Alison Brown is making a number of very interesting short videos that are cameos of each of a number of neighborhoods from across the city, which is a great project that we have on the go and will be a legacy from the initiative on the event day. And then as well, we're going to have some live stories shared by people who will have participated in the neighbor exchange to sort of tell us what they learned about going to another neighborhood that might not be like their own. And also we're going to have a series of breakout rooms with technology that the City of Kitchener has used through Zoom in order to contemplate some questions. Questions about how did your neighborhood create connection this year in these challenging times? What do you feel you would need to continue to do so in a kind of unpredictable future? What are the new tools that we need? And also, what ideas do you have for the future of your neighborhood and how to interact and build that capacity? So there'll be some breakout sessions, and we'll come back together and share some ideas. I don't want to make it sound like a meeting. It's not going to be a meeting, and Alison is going to keep things lively. And certainly, from what I've seen of these stories and videos that she's creating, it's really worth tuning in, even just to sort of experience other neighborhoods. Traditionally, our annual celebration has been about not only what goes on within a neighborhood, but helping neighbors understand the diversity of neighborhoods across our city. Because in the end, we are one community. We are not a series of isolated neighborhoods. So we're trying to recreate that by having people share these stories, and we'd love to have everyone join us.
It actually sounds like it might be pretty exciting radio. So looking forward to that. Can you give me a quick rundown again of the contact information, phone numbers, websites, and such?
Yeah, so the primary, of course, is the link with Festival of Neighbourhoods, all one word. There's a U in neighborhood, so festivalofneighborhoods.ca, and all of the contact information will be there. If you like, you could just call our office, John MacDonald Architect, at 519-579-1700. We can get you in touch with Allison Brown, our coordinator. And then I think as well, if people want to visit your website, Bob, then there will be this information there as well with the links and how to get in touch with us.
Absolutely. John MacDonald, thanks very much for telling us all about Festival of Neighbourhoods today. And looking forward to actually participating in this. Can you just remind me of the date again?
Fantastic. November 15th, Sunday, 1 p.m. We'll see you there, literally.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, John. Going to go back, do some more musical stuff. And if you are interested, you can contact John. And we'll have some information on the website radiowaterloo.ca/ccc.
Listen to the angel above your shoulder. Let me be your intuition. Let them go, open your closure. Anybody we're with before, they just left us wanting more. Now you know they're crying on their own, trying to find the high they'll never know. Baby, I need them all. Out of sight, out of mind. Forget what you know and heal your soul. Baby, I need them all. Out of sight, out of mind. Forget what you know and heal your soul. Them and all they friends, they look the same. Like they were just born on the same day. Right around her neck, I see her name. Bouncing when she dance away her pain. City energy just hits so different. Baby, I can promise you will listen. Unlike her, girl, you're the one to stay. Spotlight and hard eyes for you always. Baby, I need them all. Out of sight, out of mind. Forget what you know and heal your soul.
Jacob Bradshaw, called Heal Your Soul. First release by him. I'm not sure that he's got any other albums or songs out at the moment. Hope to have him in the studio at some point because he's a local Waterloo region guy. You're listening to CKMS Community Connections. My name is Bob Jonkman. CKMS Community Connections is a production and sponsored by RadioWaterloo.ca. In most cases, programmers, show hosts, have to pay their own way to actually host a show, which is one of the ways that the radio station manages to stay on the air. Programmers pay $30 a month for a primetime slot to get an hour show a week. And off-peak hours, overnight and early morning hours are at a half price. And of course, if you have only a half-hour show, then you only pay the $30 a month for a half-hour show in prime time. But that doesn't fully fill the coffers of Radio Waterloo. We still need to get donations from the community. And it's community radio, so if you've been enjoying things like CKMS Community Connections or Rob's Rewind, which is coming up next, or Blue Sky Horse Radio, which airs on Saturdays at 1 o'clock, come to the website at radiowaterloo.ca/give and give us a donation. Your money really, really does help sustain community radio. It's the stuff that you don't hear anywhere else on commercial radio. It's not commercially oriented. We don't have much in the way of advertising on the station. It's community support that keeps us going. So, radiowaterloo.ca/give, and if you can donate $102.7, that'll keep us on the air, keep CKMS Community Connections on the air until the next time we have a fundraiser. Thank you. My name is Bob Jonkman. Executive producer for CKMS Community Connections is Jennifer Strong. Associate producers are Jordan Dorans, Jeff Stager, and Dylan Bravener. And we'll be back on the air Saturday at noon.